Good evening, everybody. I'm Jeff Isom, Director of Sales and Training for Nikken North America. Thanks for joining us tonight. If you are looking for the Nikken University Book Club, you are in the right place. We are reading The Answer. I hope you're enjoying this fantastic book by John Assaraf and Murray Smith so far. This week, we read Chapter 1, Inside the Box, John's story. And um, hopefully you are able to read. If not, that's okay. We will be reviewing the basic ideas that were covered in chapter one. Last week, we did read the introduction. And the introduction to the answer is is the question. A great title for an introduction. And the question that we are going to be asking ourselves and answering, hopefully, with this book is how can I access unlimited abundance? That's the question we want to answer for ourselves. And there's no right or wrong answer. Unlimited abundance includes those things, those relationships, might be material things, those things that matter to you, those things that do have importance. And it might include things like money, but it might be more about emotions or feelings or experiences. Everybody has their own definition of what abundance is for them. And that's awesome. Everybody gets to decide what abundance is. But we want to answer that question, and the book is going to help us to answer that. Now, one aspect of what we're going to be talking about, and the book does focus on this, is the idea of entrepreneurial endeavors, things that we do to give, to serve, to create, to build, those kinds of things that often are related to our vocation in life or what really gives us meaning and purpose in terms of what we do. And there was a homework assignment for this week. Your homework was to visualize or to write about your ideal business or your ideal entrepreneurial endeavor. And so hopefully you spent some time this week focused on that, thinking about an ideal entrepreneurial endeavor. What would it include? What would be part of that? And we're going to start tonight by reviewing the homework. So I'm going to put you in groups of three. And we'll see. I hopefully have changed the settings where it'll just put you in the room. You may still have to click a button to accept and become part of the room. But in your little small group, three people, I would like you to have a conversation. Actually, it'll be each person sharing. So each person will have about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to share in your group of three. And you're sharing what would your ideal business be like? What would it look like? What would be included? Your ideal entrepreneurial endeavor. It might, be a straightforward Nikken business. There might be other aspects that are included in it that Nikken is a part of. It could be a different entrepreneurial endeavor, but for you, what would that be like? An ideal situation. So we'll have about 5 minutes total for this exercise. That's about 90 seconds to 2 minutes for each person. And I'll just send a message when it's time to go on to the next person. And do your best to go to the next person when you get that prompt, just so each person has about 90 seconds, 2 minutes. And if you didn't do the homework, that's okay. You get to do it now. You get to share, you get to brainstorm, in the moment and share with your group what your ideal entrepreneurial endeavor, life, business, what that would look like, what that would feel like. Anybody have any questions about what they're sharing with your group? So you'll be in a group of three. I'll let you know when when it's time to move on to the next person. So go ahead and join your group. So if you're still here with us, everybody else is off in their room doing their homework. Sit for a moment and think about this concept, this idea of what your ideal entrepreneurial endeavor or business might be like. Are you primarily working solo on your own? Are you working with a small team? For a Nikken business, this is really important to identify. Some people primarily prefer to do the business with a retail model, where they're primarily a wellness enthusiast and they're sharing the products with people they know and they care about, family members, neighbors, people in their community, people that they have close relationships with, people that they meet, on a regular basis. And some people are really successful approaching their Nikken business from that way. Some people choose to take it to another level. And in addition to being enthusiastic and sharing the products, they also like to build a team. We talk about these people as wellness entrepreneurs, and that team might be a few people, it might be hundreds or thousands of people, but it's important to get clear about what that would look like for you if you're thinking of your Nikken business as an entrepreneurial endeavor. Um, what kinds of activities would you do on a regular, consistent basis? Would you hold meetings? Would you hold events with your group? What would be the most important things that you would create? What kind of outcomes would you want to have in terms of the people that you're working with, your customers, the other consultants on your team? What are the benefits? What are people, getting out of the experience? Um, so spend a few moments, think about what your ideal entrepreneurial endeavor, what your business, and I'm focusing primarily on Nikken because most of the people here at the book club are part of Nikken, but it could be outside of that as well. You might also want to think about uh, other possible side businesses. Often people combine their Nikken business with another business, something else that they do. People do massage therapy. There are people um, um, who do wellness retreats. There are people who do all different kinds of things. So you might want to consider that and think about that as you consider what your ideal business might be or what it might look like. Paula, can you join the room? I've sent a prompt to join one of the rooms. You can see it.
I'm on my phone and I don't see that because I couldn't get on the computer because it says the host has another meeting. So I don't know if I can. I've never done this on my phone before.
Okay, Paula, I'm gonna put you in a room and see if you see a prompt that comes up. Did you see a prompt come up on your There we go. So the small groups are going to be finishing up their uh, their chats here in just another minute. But you might want to do some writing, some visualization, but get clarity. Make sure you have some clarity about what your ideal Nikken business would look like, and maybe if you have someone um, on your Nikken team or someone in your family or someone in your community who you can explain this to verbally, that would be a beneficial thing to do to verbally explain what it is, what your ideal business entrepreneurial endeavor might look like. Um, that would be something that would be an empowering thing to do. It'll help you to get more clarity about what that might be, what it might look like. Welcome back, everybody. I love it when it forces everyone to come back because you don't have a choice. You have to come back. And probably you're like mid-conversation. I can only imagine. I don't know. Sherry Danzig, who did not have a chance to share in your group?
Well,
So there,
Sherry kind of got cut
I
off.
got I got cut off. So it seemed like the time didn't get divided exactly evenly.
well, you had four people. You were
We
the
had,
one group
oh,
that started with four, but was there
gotcha.
somebody in your group who didn't share at all, who wanted
No,
to?
good
No.
sharing it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yoko, I think Maggie, I added you. We had a few people who I added. Maggie, did you get a sense of what the assignment was?
Absolutely. And we ended up with four people. We started with three and ended up with four, and everybody got a chance to share, and
Everybody did.
it was
Okay.
brilliant.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure because I had a few people show up later, and I wanted to make sure those with four, everybody had a chance to share. Hopefully that was exciting and fun. Does anybody want to share what their experience was like doing that? Either over this last week, writing about it, visualizing it, or on the fly with your group just now. Anybody want to share with the whole group what that was like? I'm curious to hear, to be honest.
Well, exciting, and it was so colorful, Jeff. Everybody got a chance to share, and everybody shared about their Nikken business and their vision for their Nikken business. I love Maureen's, or no, Gloria's description of it as a kaleidoscope. And I loved what Yoko had said about creating a legacy for the family and doing things together as a family in addition to Nikken. And Lynn was talking again about legacy and her opportunity to build a very strong team with golds and platinums, so that there is that pay it forward and continue on to train other people.
And it absolutely, Maggie, I'm glad that you shared that. It's different for everyone. It looks different for everyone. A Nikken business can be a kaleidoscope. It can involve a lot of different outcomes and goals and possibilities. So that's very cool. Sue,
Yeah, I was with Carla and Pam, and we all three had different ideas, um, different needs and wants, and a different vision for our business. So that that's pretty interesting. But and things that they said, it made me think, oh yeah, no, maybe that's a good idea too. Bob and I tend to be realists about our business, and we don't think that too lofty of goals it's like we need to make goals that are achievable, that we feel are achievable for us. And then we can grow from that. So it's like, let's get to this point and then we'll go further on. So it was just very nice hearing everybody's feeling about what their best business would be for them, how they would be the most comfortable. And it's very unique for everyone.
Perfect. Sue, thank you. Shrill.
Hello there. I just want to say thank you very much for just the little groups. The first time I was in the little group, I was with some people, and then the second time I was in the group. This second time, it just makes it more intimate, and then we can talk there and then come back. So my shout out is for the little groups. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll do that probably every single time, every single book club. As long as everyone keeps up on the reading, we don't need to spend a lot of time reviewing the chapter, and we can kind of focus on the homework and the process of applying the things that we're learning in the book, and then when we come together in the book club of sharing those with the team members. Yoko?
I wanted to add that Maggie added a great point that she wanted to make sure that she was in a particular arena where she would always be with people and in a transformational situation where it's like it's the addition to the collaboration. In other words, everybody growing together and staying together and teaming. It's wonderful. Thank you, Maggie.
Thanks.
Yoko, thank you. You absolutely do want to be very specific about your outcome and your result. You should have exactly the kind of business that you want. So I would keep working on this definition. If you want to spend some more time writing, if you want to spend some more time visualizing, if you want to get pictures, you could create a my perfect entrepreneurial endeavor vision board with all of those different aspects on it. So thank you everybody for doing the homework from our introduction. The answer, chapter 1, Inside the Box, John's story. So John Assaraf wants to share a story, and it's about a box, amazingly enough. What's inside the box? We're going to find out. John grew up and was working in Toronto, and his dreams of becoming a professional basketball player did not turn out the way he had hoped because of injuries. And he ended up with a job that blossomed into a career doing real estate. And he actually was really good at it. He got involved, in going to seminars and workshops and figuring out what it was that the successful people in his industry did. And he became very familiar with, and actually, he was familiar with some of these tools as a kid. Visualizations was something he did when he was tiny, right? He would go to bed and he would take a basketball to bed with him, and he would like dream. He would like think about as he's falling asleep, making the game-winning shot, and he was very, very accustomed, from a young age with this idea of visualizations and using those. So that was not new to him. And he used that concept in his real estate business. Also, affirmations is something that he was very aware of, and he used these. And it was during this time, he lives in Toronto, he got to know somebody well known in the Toronto community, Bob Proctor. And many of us are familiar. Bob has passed away, but many of us are familiar with Bob and his work and his life and the powerful positive impact that he had on so many people. Bob Proctor was actually a student of Earl Nightingale. And working with Earl Nightingale, who was one of the very first people to ever create a personal growth, personal development program, a tape series actually, was one of the top selling programs that was created. And Bob worked with Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale actually drew a bunch of his ideas from none other than Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill, probably the greatest author, best-selling author of the personal growth, personal development text that most people consider to be the standard in this field, this area, Think and Grow Rich. But these three individuals kind of served as a foundation going back, Bob Proctor, Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill, for much of what John was discovering. And what he found is that essentially there was a key idea. The secret to success lies in controlling our thoughts. What we think on a regular and a consistent basis is what we create. What we think about, what we hold in our mind on a consistent and a regular basis is what we experience in life. And it's powerful. It's powerful and scary. It's powerful because it gives you the responsibility, the possibility of creating your life. And at the same time, maybe a little bit scary because it does place that responsibility on each of us to realize that what we get, what we create, what we have in life comes from those consistent thoughts, those consistent thought patterns. One of the things that John was very dedicated to was the idea of consistently setting goals. If you've ever been to one of my Humans Being More trainings, there's a part of the training where I tell everybody if you ignore everything else and just do what I'm about to tell you, everything's going to be awesome. And that's daily goal writing, which is where you just write down your goals, your top 5, your top 10 goals. You just write them down. You write them down every single day. And how long do you do this for? Forever. You never stop doing it. You just keep writing the goals down until they happen. This is actually a technique that I learned from Brian Tracy, and I've applied this technique in my life, and it absolutely works. And John Assaraf really was a believer in the idea of setting and writing goals. And when he was really experiencing a lot of success in his real estate career, he had an opportunity to move to the United States, to Indiana. And within his first couple of weeks there, he did an interview with the newspaper in which he proclaimed, set a goal for himself, that he would do 1 billion in sales within 5 years. That within a 5 year time period, he would do 1 billion in sales. And he was kind of laughed off the pages of the newspaper by people in the community. Yeah, go from 0 to 1 billion in sales, not going to happen. And 5 years later, within that 1 year period, he did 1.2 billion in sales, incredibly successful. Another tool that he became familiar with during this time period was the vision board, our life cycle plan, dream charts, which is a very powerful tool. And he became very successful by using vision boards on a consistent basis, used them all the time, and really felt along with affirmations, visualizations, with goal writing, that the vision board, the life cycle plan was an incredibly powerful tool. Well, he had a major change happen in his life. He ended up moving to California and while in California started a business endeavor with a couple of partners. And during the late 90s, the tech world was exploding, and they found a way to show homes digitally, virtually, that was incredibly useful for people to, not have to actually go to the home, but to be able to experience it quite differently. And working very, very hard over a period of years, they built up a company that was became valued at $2.5 billion. So a multi-billion-dollar company, like many of the great billion-dollar companies out there. and he sold the company and was kind of in a position where he could do what he wanted. He could do whatever he wanted. And one thing that he did want to do, there in California, he loved San Diego, and he decided my family, we're going to live in Southern California in San Diego. Beautiful, deluxe, gorgeous Mediterranean climate, and started renting a home and looking around the area to find a place where they could move into and live. And they eventually did purchase a home, a great, beautiful beachfront property and orange orchards, and just, the perfect place for his family to be, ultimate abundance. And this is where he and his son, Keenan, they were unpacking some boxes as they move into their new home, and they find the box. They find the box, and inside the box was a vision board. And there were quite a few of them. There were several vision boards. And on one of the vision boards, and this was a sealed box that had been sealed for 5 years, John found on one of his vision boards an image of the exact home that they had purchased and were now living in. And he thought to himself, how did this happen? Did a brochure happen to fall into the box? But it was a sealed box. It had been sealed for 5 years. The image had been placed on the vision board many years before, and here it was. It had manifested itself in his life. Now, if you've seen the film, and I know several of you have, if you've seen the film The Secret, he tells this story, this exact story in The Secret. And it kind of shook his worldview in some ways, this experience. How did this happen? How did this home that I cut out and I put on a board, how did it manifest in my life? What forces are at play to make a coincidence, a miraculous coincidence like this happen? And being someone who now was kind of wealthy beyond his dreams, he felt like he could do exactly what he wanted to in life. And so he started a quest. He decided to start a personal journey, a quest to figure out what was behind this reality of something that he had chosen years before by putting an image on a vision board, a life cycle plan had become a reality. And he started doing interviews with people all around the world and asking them questions about their knowledge and what they knew and understood. And this is very similar to what Napoleon Hill did, um, going around and interviewing people and asking lots of questions. And actually, what we are going to encounter in this book are the results of those interviews. So we are going to find ideas that come from quantum physics, from neuroscience, from philosophy, from entrepreneurship, from personal development as we explore the book. And we're going to kind of have a front row seat to these ideas that he gathered from people who he interviewed all over the world to figure out how did this home that he had put on a life cycle plan, how did it become a reality? So that's chapter one. I hope you enjoyed chapter one as much as I did. A reminder, we do have one purpose as we go throughout the book, and that's to figure out how can I access unlimited abundance. So chapter one, Inside the Box, John's story. I want you to think about this week. What is a tool that you could use this week to help you focus on what's most important to you? So he mentions affirmations, visualizations, life cycle plans, goal setting. Daily goal writing is something that I use. But I'd like you to consider a tool that you might use over the next 7 days before we meet again that will help you to focus consistently on what matters most, what's most important to you. What we think about, our consistent thought patterns, determines what we end up creating in life. And so I want to put you back in your rooms again and just quickly, maybe about 30 seconds for each person, share with your group the tool or tools you will use this week. Those personal growth, personal development tools like affirmations, journaling, visualization, vision boards, viewing your vision board, thinking about it, goal writing. What are some of the tools that you're going to use this week in order to have success in getting clear, getting more focus about what really matters? So join your group about 30 seconds. I'll let you know when 30 seconds has gone by. Just share with your group members what tool or what tools are you going to use over the next 6, 7 days until we meet again. Okay, join your group. So if you're watching the recording, you might want to think about which tools you're going to use this week. Probably my favorite is Life Cycle Plan, Vision Board. I really think that's a powerful tool. I also like doing daily goal writing where I write down my most important goals. I just write down the goal. That's it. That's all I do. And it's a really great way to help me focus on something that matters most. My goals that matter. And one of the goals I'm working on right now that's really important to me is my master's degree. I just finished the second part of my capstone, which was a 28-page paper. And now I just have to do a presentation, a recorded presentation where I present what I developed in my paper. It's a training program that I developed, leadership and management training program. And so I have been writing for a very long time about completing that goal. It's part of my daily goal writing activities. So daily goal writing can be a really powerful thing. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully, there was time for the three of you to share, and then there's 30 seconds until it forces you to come back. So, hopefully, the fourth person, if you had four people in your room, had a chance there at the end to share. So, the homework for this week is to use a tool, use that tool you just explained that helps you focus on what is most important, whatever that might be. So if it's daily goal writing, if it's using affirmations, if it's visualizations, if it's writing daily in a journal, a success journal, whatever it might be, use that tool consistently to help you decide what you're focusing on, what you're thinking about, where your thoughts are going, the consistent thought patterns that you have. So we'll meet next week, 5:30 p.m., 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and we're reading chapter 2 this week. Chapter 2, The Search for How the World Works. So that's our second chapter. Please make sure and read it this week. And again, the homework, identify and use a success focus tool. So thanks everybody for joining us tonight for our Nikken University Book Club. We'll meet again next week. I will post the recording soon on WhatsApp and Telegram. So if you didn't have a chance for a team member to be with us tonight, they can watch the recording and stay up with
And which WhatsApp, Jeff? Which one?
Nikken Core Consultant and the main Canadian one.
Thank you. You are an excellent teacher.
Oh, thank you, Madeline.
You
I
are.
appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight.